Today, we are going to be going through some of the most undervalued players on Sorare that I think are going to be great next season in the Premier League. These are perhaps players that have had a few injuries, a little bit of iffy form, or for some reason their price is just a little bit too cheap for what it should be. And if you are watching this video and you aren't subbed, guys, please make sure to smash that sub button. It does really help out the channel. So let's get into the video. The first player that I'm really excited about for next season is Kaoru Mitoma, who obviously plays for Brighton, and he ended the season with quite a lot of injuries. However, he's a player that I love watching, and when he has played for Brighton, been very, very good. You can see back here all of these dark green scores. He's a great player in terms of AA because of the amount of duels that he wins going past players. 8 goals, 10 assists, and 1 penalty won. So about 20 DAs in 45 games and 7.4 AA. Brighton obviously going for a bit of change with a new manager coming in. However, they do normally play very, very good football. And for his price currently, the last public sale of his classic cards was £24, which I think is an absolute bargain. He's 27 years old, a great age, contract till 2027, which is perfect. And you do also get that added bonus of him playing for Japan as well. So a little bit of international utility there as well. Next up, we have another Brighton player in Solly March. And I think there's 3 on this list in total. So Brighton could be quite a good team to target here. March, similarly to Mitoma, was a very, very good scorer for Brighton. In fact, one of the best scorers in the Premier League for a certain spell here. And he had a very serious injury. So there is obviously doubts about him coming back into the team, whether he can reach those heights and whether he's still going to actually be a starter for Brighton moving forwards. However, if you look at this spell of games here, capable of hitting in the 90s and 100s, he's someone that actually scores quite a few goals for a wide player, and was on quite a few set pieces for them as well. So if both March and also Mitoma can work their way back into this Brighton team, they appoint the right manager as well. They play good football. I think that both of them could be really, really nice purchases currently when their price is low, which obviously helps to limit the risk as well. Our next player on the list is Hwang Hee-chan, who plays for Wolves and is a forward. He's someone that actually had a very, very good season. If you look at his scores here, he doesn't have the AA of other forwards and other players on this list. But this season, he had 16 DAs in 26 games, which is very, very good. When he's fit, he'll start every game for Wolves up front with Cunha. And if they can keep hold of Gary O'Neill as well, I think they'll still be quite a good team next season. They play very, very good football. They create lots of chances. And yeah, he's someone that is a consistent scorer. He also has the bonus of playing for South Korea as well. So you do get a few fixtures there. And for his price currently around about £20, there isn't really much risk. And yeah, he's just a very, very solid forward option in the Premier League. Next on the list, we have Marcus Senesi, who plays as a centre-back for Bournemouth. He has a contract till 2026 and is 27 years old. And Bournemouth were quite a shock this year. They're actually one of the best teams in terms of all the stats. Defensively, clean sheets, XG allowed, all those sort of stats. They were very, very good. I believe they were about 4th, 5th on that list. And he also gives you a little bit of threat from set pieces. He had 11 DAs this season in 26 games, which is very, very good, and 8.2 AA. It'll be interesting to see if that's different when he's playing at home or away. So he's actually slightly better away from home, which is a little bit strange, but fairly consistent. You can see here from his score chart, he's someone that gives you a lot of upside, which is rare for players around this budget. And if Bournemouth can take a little bit of a step forward or even just maintain what they did last season, he's going to be a very, very good asset for you. The only downside to him is he had a few injuries this season. But apart from that, his last public sale and classic was £16. And new season 21, obviously the season's finished now. But yeah, for like £15 to £20 for those sort of scores, I think he's a really, really solid option for you, especially if you can use him and pick those good fixtures. For instance, if we have a look down here at some of his scores, at home to Brighton, scored well, away at Bournemouth, scored well. at home to Fulham, scored well. Away to Man U, did really well. Away to Palace, away to Sheffield, at home to Newcastle. He just had a lot of very, very good scores, and I'm a little bit shocked at his price range. I just think he's a really, really good card and offers you a lot of really solid scores. Our last Brighton player on the list is Paul van Hecke, who is a young centre-back. He is U23, which ends this summer, but has a contract until 2027. His price is around that sort of £25 to £30 mark, and he's someone that, once again, towards the middle of the season prior to his injury, was scoring very, very well. You can see here, he gives you upside and also gives you a little bit of a sort of mid-range. You can see all these cluster of scores here around that sort of 50 to 60 mark, and then has the upside of being able to get you into the mid to late 80s, and even had 100 as well. You can see the 100 was actually purely AA 71.36, which is absolutely crazy. And that's down to the style of football that Brighton play. The centre-backs get a lot of passes. So in games they really dominate, they're going to score really well. So if Brighton bring in a similar manager who has a similar style of play, you can really target those fixtures. And he's also going to play every game. There isn't any doubt of him getting dropped. And just a really, really solid player who gives you a lot of upside as well. Next on the list, we have Tino Livramento, who plays for Newcastle, which has to get a Saints player on this list. He is U23 until 2027, which is great, 21 years of old. And he's someone which has a little bit of a weird scoring graph because he wasn't always starting, down to Trippier obviously playing. However, if you look at games when he has played, he does give you some really nice scores, especially when they're playing at home. See here a 68 purely on AA against Sheffield. You can see here a 87 with 52 AA against Fulham. You can see here against Man U at home a 65, at home to Chelsea a 69. Newcastle are very, very good at home. And if he can lock down a permanent starting job either at left back or right back when Trippier leaves or starts playing less, he's going to be a very, very good scorer. And he's someone that, down to his age, you can also hold for a little bit as well. So the fact that you can get him around about £20, I think, is an absolute steal. And he's someone that, if you actually watch him, he's a very, very talented player, quick, strong, good on the ball. And if he starts playing more, he will give you some DAs as well. So I think he's a really, really solid option moving forwards. Our second to last player on the list is Lucas Paqueta, who is currently playing for West Ham. I checked on his price graph. He's had a cluster of sales around that sort of £30 to £40 mark. And he's someone which is really interesting to me because he's got the pedigree to be one of the best players in the Premier League and on Sorare as well. A very, very talented player, does get minutes for Brazil, and has been consistently linked with Man City, which is one of the main reasons that he's on this list. Obviously, if he stays at West Ham with the new manager, perhaps that unlocks some higher scores for him. Or if he moves to Man City and nails down one of the starting roles, perhaps in that KDB role, he's going to be a really, really good scorer. He already is. And yeah, I think he has a lot of upside, both in terms of what can happen at West Ham and if he actually moves on. And yeah, like I was saying, plays for Brazil, is 26 years of age. Going to be one of those players that, no matter what happens, will score well for you. If you can get him around that £30 mark, I think he's a really, really good price right now. And the final player on this list is Amadou Onana from Everton. And he's one of my favourite players to actually watch. He's someone that I think can personally do everything and has all the talent to actually move on to the next level. He is U23 until 2026, has a contract until 2027. He's round that sort of £50 mark currently, but that's because of the Euros coming up. He should probably start for Belgium. But after that, and if you can get him on a cheaper deal, perhaps when Belgium go out, he was around that sort of £25 to £30 mark. And he's someone that, if you look at his scores, they don't really show sort of much. However, he's always consistently around this sort of 50, 60 mark. You can see here he's got 18 scores between 40 and 70. 7 of them are between 60 and 70. And that's just purely AA as well. See here in this game against Sheffield, 52.7 AA. Here against West Ham, 27. Here against Burnley, 25. Here against Everton, 27. He's someone that doesn't need to get you DAs. And if Everton start to play a little bit more expansively next season under Dyche, or they get a new manager, or if he moves on, he's been linked to a lot of big clubs. A lot of players move on after the Euros if they have a good tournament as well. He could be someone where you see him playing for a top 6 team, and suddenly he's getting you an extra 4-5 AA and maybe 4-5 DAs every season, and you've got a player that you've got for, 25-30 quid, which is going to be one of the best midfielders on the platform, and is obviously U23, plays for his national team, and has a bright future ahead of him. So he's probably one of my favourite players on the list, and it really does show that sometimes you have to look beyond the actual scores. His scores are okay, nothing special, but he's one of those that can really take a step forwards for you and also your Sorare gallery as well. Okay guys, that's going to be all for today's video. Please let me know down in the comments what you think of my selections, and if you think I've missed out any players on that list who are undervalued currently and are going to be very, very good in the next season of the Premier League. As always, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.